Well, here we are. It's review time. As, now the quest for the Stanley Cup begins. So anyway, let's cue that intro card, please. Hi there, it's Brett Hornby here. Welcome to my Calgary Flames in the Stanley Cup playoffs. And it's review time. Time to review the first round series preview, I should say, between the Calgary Flames and the Colorado Avalanche here. This is what I did with my Calgary Edmonton in the WHL playoffs here. I do a preview before the first game of the series here and break it down, and then ultimately I give my feelings and everything and give my ultimate prediction on what I think will happen here. So here we are. This is episode 16 after recapped what I say has been one heck of a season. I say it's the best season that we've had in a generation here. So you can look back at my playlist here, and I'll continue on this playlist and I'll do a preview and then a recap. And let's continue on until when we win the Stanley Cup in a couple months here. I can dream, right? But, actually speaking of who I think is going to win the Stanley Cup here, I'll do my quick video on my bracket. As NHL has their bracket challenge there, so I'm going to do that in a separate video here. So anyway, bring on the Avalanche, as I say, and let's take a look at this upcoming series that we have here with the Colorado Avalanche here. So I'll bring my notes here as usual, as I have. So how do we get here? So divisional rankings here. The Calgary Flames had a 50-win season, 25 losses and 7 overtime or shootout losses here. So that gave them 107 points here. That gave him first place in the Pacific Division and the Western Conference here. So the Calgary Flames, pleasantly surprised. I mean, we were expected to get back in the playoffs here with all the changes made, but win the conference, well, that's might have been stretching it a little if I said that 6 months ago, but here we are. We won the Western Conference here. So how the playoff format works is that the top seed in the conference will take on the second wild card here. As you know, there's 2 divisions in each conference here. Calgary's in the Pacific here, and in the case of the Colorado Avalanche here, they actually are in the Central Division here. And what they do is they take the top 3 teams in each division, seed them accordingly, or they make playoffs, and then they take the next 2 best records within the conference. So it could be 1 each division or 2 in 1 division here. And in this case, 3 teams made the playoffs in the Pacific Division, while 5 made it in the Central there, because consensus had it the Central Division was the tougher division here. So when you have the top conferences, Calgary was the top conference in this case. We'll get the second wildcard team, the team with the lowest record that made the playoffs, and then the other divisional winner. As I know, I'll go over the whole bracket again at the end of the video here. In this case was the Nashville Predators. They take on the first wild card, and then obviously the higher seed gets home ice advantage. In case of the Calgary Flames, if we go all the way to the conference championship, we've got home ice up until third round there, and then you have 2 or 3 in each division. They'll play each other. So winner of this series will play either the San Jose Sharks or the Vegas Golden Knights. That's the one thing we'll know for sure there. So that's where the Flames ranked. And the Colorado Avalanche, they had 38 wins, 30 losses, 14 points. So that gave them 90 points on the season there. That put them 5th in the Central Division and the second wild card there. So, if you want to get to head to the playoff series here, or the regular season series here, I think this playoff series is favorable for the Calgary Flames more than just because of winning the division and the conference here. So I quickly looked at the numbers here. I mean, I was just doing some research on the go here. What's unique about both the Calgary Flames and the Colorado Avalanche here is that both of those teams didn't start their franchise in the cities that they're in right now. That is when I'll break down the playoff appearance numbers and give you an idea how good the previous team did or not. So this is the 47th season that the Calgary or the Flames franchise has been around in the NHL here. But as you recall, the Flames started off in Atlanta there, so they played 8 seasons in Atlanta. This is the 39th season that the Flames have played in Calgary here. And for playoff appearances here, this season is the 29th appearance for the Flames in the playoffs here. 6 of them were the Atlanta Flames and 23 of them as the Calgary Flames. And now, of those 23 times, or the 29 times that the Flames have been in the playoffs here, 8 of those times, actually the team has advanced to the second round, at least the second round here. So we're definitely not hitting 500 or batting 500 here. I mean, it's only a good 8 out of 23, or 29, I should say. That might be good enough for baseball, but we're definitely hitting less than 50% of getting out of the first round here. The Atlanta Flames actually never got out of the first round of the 6 years that they made the playoffs here, and in fact they only won 2 games the whole time the Flames were in Atlanta there, which actually is 2 more wins than the Atlanta Thrashers won in the playoffs, and they only made the playoffs once in their 11 or 12 seasons that Atlanta played in the NHL the second time. So yeah, out of 29 times, 23 of them as the Calgary Flames, we've only got out of the first round 8 times here. And then the Flames have actually made at least 4 conference championship appearances here. And then we'll get to this, finals shortly here. But now let's look at the Colorado side of numbers here. And it's a little better when you look at all the numbers here. So this is the 40th season that the Avalanche franchise has been represented in the NHL here. 17 of those seasons was the Quebec Nordiques here. And actually the Quebec Nordiques for 7 seasons, I believe, were in the WHA. So the Quebec Nordiques started off in the WHA, the World Hockey Association, before the World Hockey Association merged with one of the 4 teams in the NHL there. So in 40 seasons that the franchise has been in the NHL here, 17 of them have been the Quebec Nordiques and 23 is the Colorado Avalanche here. And of those 40 seasons, the Quebec Nordiques / Colorado Avalanche franchise has made the playoffs 24 times here. 9 times is the Quebec Nordiques, and this will be the 15th time the Colorado Avalanche have made the playoffs here. And of the 24 times in total here, the franchise has actually gotten past the first round 14 times, so they're just go over 500 here. 11 of the 14, though, was as the Colorado Avalanche here, because the Quebec Nordiques, they had some good years in the early 80s, and then they had some lousy years in the early 90s there, and they went through a painful rebuild, and then they drafted Eric Lindros, who didn't want to play for the Quebec Nordiques, and made that trade with the Philadelphia Flyers there. And of those pieces, many pieces that the Quebec Nordiques franchise got in the Lindros trade, and then when the team moved to Colorado, helped them win some championships. And then of those 14 times that the Quebec Colorado franchise has gone in past the first round there, they actually have made 6 conference finals. I suppose the Calgary Flames have only made 4 conference finals appearances here. 5 of those 6 for the Colorado Avalanche. 5 of the 6 have been as the Colorado Avalanche here. So when it comes to Stanley Cup championships, Flames will only have their one from 1989, but they've also been in the playoffs or the finals three times in total there. Once they made it in 1986 and lost to the Montreal Canadiens, and then in 1989 they got their revenge and won against the Montreal Canadiens. In the 2004, as magical run is, we fortunately lost a tough one to the Tampa Bay Lightning there. And then when the Avalanche, the Colorado Avalanche, the franchise has won 2 Stanley Cups, one in 1996, and that was over the surprisingly Florida Panthers that year when they made their run to the Stanley Cup Finals there, and in 2001 where they beat the New Jersey Devils, who were seeking their back-to-back cups. That was the one where the Avalanche acquired Ray Borg, and Ray Borg finally got his Stanley Cup after 22 years in the NHL there. So the Avalanche have won the Cup twice, and actually both times that they've been to the Stanley Cup Finals, they won. Those are the only times that the Colorado Avalanche have won the Stanley Cup, when they were in the Stanley Cup Finals. As I said, the Flames were in 3 finals there, and they've only won one of those 3. So playoff history, Flames and Avalanche, they never played each other in the playoffs there, and neither did the Atlanta Flames or the Quebec Nordiques there, but much of that time when the Atlanta Flames started, the Quebec Nordiques were in the WHA there. But speaking of the WHA, if I stretch this out a little bit here, you can say the Quebec Nordiques have played Calgary in the playoffs before. If you go back to 1976, the WHA had their trophy was the Avco Cup here, and actually the Quebec Nordiques in the first round in the 1976 WHA playoffs there, we had a team called the Calgary Cowboys that played in Calgary at the Stampede Corral for a couple of seasons there. That franchise moved around a few times because that franchise started off as the Miami Screaming Eagles that didn't actually play in Miami and went to the Philadelphia, played a couple seasons as the Philadelphia Blazers, and then it went to Vancouver for 3 seasons as the Vancouver Blazers, and then the Calgary Cowboys. And Cowboys were only around for 2 seasons before they folded due to lack of fan interest and no Prospect Arena at the time. But the Quebec Nordiques did actually play the Calgary Cowboys in 1976 there, and that was in the first round, and the Cowboys won that series 4-1. So could that be a sign of things to come a lot later, a few reincarnations later? But what was interesting in that series, if you look it up there, is that there was definitely a brawl there where police had to actually get involved there at a different time. WHA definitely branded themselves as the more physical brand of hockey at the time when that was competing with the NHL there. So a little interesting history lesson here, but essentially I'm still going to say Flames and Avalanche have never met in the playoffs here, so they're going to make some history together for the first time here. So if you look at the excuse me, I'm still not quite 100% from my cold and flu here, but if you go back to the regular season series here, this is where I say it's very favorable for the Flames in this matchup here, but we played the Colorado Avalanche 3 times in the regular season there, but it all happened pretty much in the first half of the regular season there, where Colorado started strong and then they went down for a bit, and then they had a strong finish to get that second wild card there, because Arizona was also threatening Colorado there for getting into the playoffs here. So if you go back to Game 5, the 5th game of the regular season there, this happened on Saturday, October the 13th. This game was in Colorado. The Calgary Flames won that game 3-2 in overtime there. So we got the first blood on the Colorado Avalanche in the regular season series here. And then Game 14, this happened on Thursday, November the 1st, and this game was quite memorable. It was in Calgary here. It was the Flames winning this one 6-5 here, but how that game was remembered is that the Colorado Avalanche had a 4-1 lead going into the third period there, and then the Flames scored 5 goals in the third period alone there. That was one of those games where Calgary started to establish themselves as one of the best third team, or the best third period team in the NHL there. So Flames got 2 wins there. So now the final game, this happened in game 45. This happened on Wednesday, January 9th. That game was also in Calgary. The Flames won that game 5-3 there. So the Flames went 3-0 against the Colorado Avalanche in the season series here. Well, you can, if you're on the Avalanche side of things, they were 0-2-1 because they got at least a point in the first game there when they lost in overtime here. So season series goes to the Flames. But let's break it down things a little more here. So the top 5 players, top 5 in scoring here for the Flames. I mean, you had Johnny Gaudreau, who had 99 points, and then you had Sean Monahan, Elias Lindholm, Matthew Tkachuk, and Mark Giordano there. And what's unique about those 5 players there, they all had over 70 points. Well, the Colorado Avalanche, they're known for having one really strong line here with Nathan MacKinnon, who I believe also had 99 points there, and Mikko Rantanen and Gabriel Landeskog. And then the other top 2 guys to round up their top 5 scoring is Tyson Barrie and Carl Soderberg. However, after Nathan MacKinnon, Mikko Rantanen, and Gabriel Landeskog, their offense really dips down big time there, because Tyson Barrie and Carl Soderberg definitely have 30 points less than their top line there. So when you look at the offense in general here, Calgary can roll past. Well, they have 2 really good lines there, because you got the 3M line with Tkachuk, Frolik, and Backlund there, and Backlund also can shut down. And then we've had a solid third line where you can have Sam Bennett and James Neal and Mark Jankowski there. And then I'm going to say we have the best 4th line in the NHL, where you have Gordon Hathaway, Derek Ryan, and Andrew Mangiapane. So offensively, Calgary is definitely a lot deeper. But Colorado does have a really, really good top line, though, that can compete with our top line here. But definitely the matchup of the series is going to be how well can Colorado suddenly get some scoring depth, or does Calgary's scoring depth continue, or be able to shut down their top line. Also, there's been spurts where the 3M line for the Flames actually did more of the heavy lifting than the top line too. So, I mean, the top line obviously for the Flames is going to be watched a lot more closely now that we're in the playoffs. But we'll see how that pans out here as we get into the series here. And then Calgary's top 2 defensemen has been Mark Giordano, who has definitely had a Norris-like season and should be considered as a finalist, or should be planning a speech and holding that trophy when they hand out the awards. And he's been top paired with T.J. Brody here. But Calgary actually is being proactive, and I mean, we have a great top 6 as a group here, but we also got very proactive, and we have 10 guys who played in the NHL this year that could be ready to go here. So we definitely have a right mix of youth and experience there. I mean, Travis Hamonic and Noah Hannafin has been a nice 3-4 pair, and then bottom pair, I mean, we got you could have Michael Stone, Rasmus Anderson, Yusuf Almakian Anderson, or you can name it, or Oscar Fanenberg with Anderson here. Well, I mean, Colorado, I mean, I'm going to say they're 3 defensemen, or you got Eric Johnson, Nika Zerudov, who he's playing their top pair there, but they also have Tyson Barrie there, but Calgary definitely following them a lot more closely, obviously being here, but Calgary definitely has a much deeper defense as well. That is one of the reasons when we look at one of the numbers here, which definitely should give Calgary an edge here when we break down, when we look at shots against here. However, here's a push here, as in we look at goaltending here, because it seems like even though Calgary finished first in the West here, and at the start of the season, David Riddick looked like he stole the job away from Mike Smith, but Mike Smith down the stretch actually was the better goalie for the Calgary Flames and put up numbers here, but we got two capable goalies who can, backstop the Flames and put up wins. Be interesting how Bill Peters is going to treat it. Like, at the end of the playoffs, you say, you're my guy, and you run with it, but it's hard to say if this tandem is going to continue, or, I mean, all the indications are is that Mike Smith is going to start for the Flames here. Well, you have Teddy Vredick here, but if you look at the Colorado side of the puck here, I mean, at the start of the year, the last few years, Semyon Varlamov has been the goalie, Semyon Varlamov, for the Colorado Avalanche here, but they also acquired Philip Grubauer from the Washington Capitals here, and he was definitely playing for the Colorado Avalanche down the stretch there when they were trying to fend off the Arizona Coyotes here. So I'm thinking Philip Grubauer is going to probably get the start for the Avalanche here in Game 1 here, but it'd be interesting to see playoff experience because Mike Smith has some playoff experience, and I saw in the hockey news that they ranked goaltenders' save percentages, active goaltenders in the playoffs there, and Mike Smith actually ranks number 1 if you look on the Facebook page and the hockey news there. Mike Smith was definitely a wall for the Arizona Coyotes in 2012 when he single-handedly led them to the conference championship in 2012 there, and eventually lost to the Los Angeles Kings, who were the eventual Stanley Cup champions that year. So Flames are banking on that, but Philip Grubauer, he did start the first 2 games for the Washington Capitals last year, but then it was Braden Holtby that took over, and he was the goalie that backstopped the Washington Capitals to win the Stanley Cup here. So maybe we'll see all 4 goalies in this series at one point for various reasons. Who knows? But I'm going to call that a push right now. But both Phil Grubauer and Mike Smith has looked strong for their respective teams there. But Calgary's got Dave Riddick and Colorado's got Semyon Varlamov. So I think both teams have capable goaltending here. Can't really declare the edge here. So the offense and defense goes to Calgary. Goaltending give a push here. So when I look at the team stats here, goals for, the Calgary Flames were second in the league with 289 goals, while the Colorado Avalanche were 10th in the league at 260 there. So both teams can definitely put up some numbers on offense here. And then when it comes to goals against here, well, despite the goaltending issues that apparently Calgary had all year, we've allowed 227 goals. That puts us 9th in the league, while the Colorado Avalanche allowed 246. That puts them 16th in the middle of the pack there. So reading what's that worth? The special teams here is going to might play a role here, especially in the power play here, because on the Calgary side of the puck here, Calgary's power play was 19.3% here. That put us 18th in the league there. Our power play's been up and down, but it definitely got cold there during the stretch there, but it wasn't as, sub-zero cold as it was going down the stretch last year. While the Colorado Avalanche actually has the edge on the Flames. They had 22% power play efficiency. That puts them 7th here, so this could potentially be a storyline here on the power play here. So that gives Colorado an edge there. So then when it comes to penalty kill here, which both teams, if you look at the numbers here, actually look a little suspect here. So because the Flames, Calgary is 79.7%. That puts them 19th in the league there. So our special teams is on the lower third of the NHL here. But Colorado's power play was even worse, as they were 78.7% and they were 25th in the league here. So maybe the penalty kill, we'll see who can overcome better those numbers there. Maybe the Calgary Flames can get a spark with their power play, or maybe our penalty kill could be pushed to the envelope when we're on the shorthanded here. So here's two stats here that definitely Calgary improved on big time from last season here. Shots against, Calgary actually was first in the league at 28.1% here, which is definitely why I give the defense advantage for the Flames here. While Colorado, they have allowed 11 more shots, three more, never mind, as they were 31.9% there. That put them 21st there, so there's a big gap there in shots there, so the Flames offense could have a field day here. Well, it comes to face-off wins here. Calgary at 52.4% actually is third in the league there. And one big guy that definitely improved our face-off is Derek Ryan on our fourth line there. While Colorado, they were 48.1%, that puts them 26th there. So that's just some team numbers here from the regular season. I know you can throw it all out there and when we're in the playoffs, but that's how things look on paper right now and matching up here. So, as I say, overall, Calgary should have the edge in offense, definitely have the edge in defense. Goaltending's a push here right now, but if our defense can play to the best of their abilities, should definitely give us the slight edge there. So when looking at the matchup here, I mean, this should favor Calgary, and I think for the first time in a generation here, we should not only get out of the first round, but get out of the first round without any drama. What I mean by any drama is I grew up with a lot of scary first rounds and first round heartbreak here, but the Calgary Flames in 1989, when we did win the Stanley Cup there, if you look back to that first round series against the Vancouver Canucks there, the Vancouver Canucks definitely gave us a scare there, and we needed Game 7 and overtime to finish off the Vancouver Canucks, and if things could have played out differently, who knows, Vancouver could have won that game, pulled off one of the biggest upsets of the century there, and we might not be talking about the Flames having a cup. And then in 2004, I mean, it was another emotional series with the Vancouver Canucks there, but it was how that sequence of events happened in Game 7 there that all of a sudden we missed the empty net to take the lead, and then Vancouver tied it up with 5 seconds left. I thought, it was a new way for my heart to be broken. After all the first round heartbreaks in the 90s there, when we were a favorite team and lost in the first round in overtime, especially Game 7 there, and then even in 2015 there, I mean, it was another emotional series against Vancouver here, but when you go back to all the numbers I broke down, how many times the Flames have gotten out of the first round and made the playoffs here, this has definitely been a tough series here, but I feel that this is the case the way our team's built. I mean, now we're well into another generation here, but these strange curses or past seems to follow teams. It's just a strange thing in sports there. I mean, look at baseball with, Red Sox, Cubs, Indians, the Cleveland curse. So, but I expect Calgary to win the series in 5 games, and hopefully the Vegas Golden Knights and the San Jose Sharks have a nice rough series so we can draw one of them in the second round there. So I think Calgary should win this one in 5. No drama, but that's why they play the games here, and you'll find out in the next episode, episode 17, when I recap what happened in the series here, hopefully as winners, and getting ready to tee up for another episode for preview in the second round here. So last order of business is looking at the schedule here. So Game 1 will be on Thursday, April the 11th. This game will be in Calgary at Scotiabank Stadium. 8 p.m. puck drop there. Right, yeah, 8 p.m. puck drop. This is all Mountain Time. So Eastern Time, you add 2 hours. So if you're out east watching the Flames and Avalanche, you're definitely going to be up really late. So Game 2, which would be on Saturday, April the 13th. It's also in Calgary at the Scotiabank Stadium. That'll be an 8:30 puck drop there. And then when the series shifts to Denver here, Game 3 on Monday, April the 15th. That will be an 8 p.m. puck drop at the Pepsi Center in Denver. And then Game 4 will be on Wednesday, April the 17th. That will be an 8 p.m. puck drop at the Pepsi Center there. And then if we need Game 5, we'll come back to Calgary on Friday, April the 19th at the Scotiabank Cell, and they put to be determined. It all depends on, if any series that's still going on at the time, all the TV rankings, but I'm pretty sure that game will probably start at 8 o'clock, because I know the Flames are going to be following the Maple Leafs and Bruins series. And then if we need Game 6, it'll go back to Denver on Sunday, April the 21st. Pep Center to be determined for the start time, which all depends on the networks there, so check your TV guides or TV guide electronically on your cable box or NHL.com if you're whenever those games start. And then Game 7, if we need a Game 7, will be on Tuesday, April 23rd. It'll be in Calgary at the Scotiabank Cell. And I say to be determined for when puck drop is there. So yeah, this is my first round preview of the Calgary Flames and Colorado Avalanche here. It'll be the first time these two teams have met ever in the Stanley Cup playoffs here, and I'm sure it won't take long before rivalries get built up. Matthew Chuck will get in someone's skin there, and maybe there'll be some jar between who else. But so anyway, I mean, if you enjoy everything I do on my YouTube channel, just make sure you hit like, subscribe, and go Flames go. Let's hope for a nice long playoff run here, and just make an awesome birthday present if the Calgary Flames win the Stanley Cup there. So my birthday's in the middle of June there, and hey, the Stampeders have won the Grey Cup already. My dream would be to go to the home opener when we celebrate the Calgary Stampeders winning the Grey Cup last year and start defending their championship. Wouldn't it just be awesome if the Calgary Flames were special guests and they brought the Stanley Cup along too and celebrate both victories at the same time? I mean, the Flames are the principal owners of all the teams in Calgary here, and if you follow along with my Hitman series, the Hitmen are in the second round series with the Edmonton Oil Kings there too. So right now it's definitely a fun time to be a Calgary sports fan, but with the best season we've had in this generation here, I expect this team to go nice and far. So you can watch my video on my bracket and my predictions for all the series and who I ultimately think will be winning the Stanley Cup here. And it's the next time of the year to be a hockey fan. Let's watch some hockey. Let's enjoy 2 more months of hockey, and let's see who ultimately claims the Holy Grail, the Stanley Cup there. So I'll see you in the next video.